Welcome back to another episode of Found But Still Lost. I am Leslie, so if you are new to my channel, thank you very much for joining us. This weekend we're up in Minden Hills, and Matt and I have been here for, I don't know, going on 5 days I think, so my hair's a little greasy and my leg hair has grown quite a bit. But I thought I would still do a vlog because I wanted to share with you guys the books that I've been reading this summer. So because we're up north, I couldn't carry every book that I read up here. There's just not enough space in the car, and I don't know, I just didn't want to carry them all. So I brought I keep like a journal of the books that I read so that I have a better idea of what I read, because sometimes I forget if I don't keep like a little log of what I've read. So anyways, we're gonna start with The Downstairs Girl. It was written by Stacey Lee. This book was on Reese Witherspoon's Young Author series, so I find that Reese Witherspoon's books are usually like a win for me, so I grabbed this one. And I'll be honest, it did not start off as a win. Oh, actually I take that back. It started off more as a win, and then it just slowly kind of went down. I had a hard time reading this one, but I liked that there were only a few main characters. It was kind of easy to follow in that sense. So I did enjoy that part, and the details of the characters were really good. And I made it to the end of the book, but barely. Just barely. I hung on by a thread. So I don't know if I'd highly recommend the book, but I'd recommend that you at least read about it and then decide if you want to pursue reading the entire book. The next book that I read was called The Christie Affair, and this one was written by Nina de Gramont. I hope I'm not butchering that name, but I'm gonna read what I wrote. I'm not sure why I decided to grab this book, but I'm glad that I did. The first 20 pages pulled me in. I fell in love with all of the characters and their background stories. I love that the author didn't go overboard on describing the scenery or the characters. It left some details to my imagination, which I really like. I'm not a fan of when things are overly described. I find it boring to read so many descriptive words about a shirt or a kiss and blah blah blah. Anyways, it left room for me to come up with my own version of what I thought people and places look like. I took time reading this book, but I loved it from the beginning to the end. The storyline was so good. Both of the characters pulled you in, whether you were like team adulteress or team jilted lover. You felt for both of them, which I really liked. Sometimes I was team Agatha, other times I was team Nan, and if you read the book you'll know the characters I'm talking about. Although I was never team Archie, and if you read the book you'll know why. He was just a dick. So anyways, I give that book an 8 out of 10. I didn't even rate the previous book that I described to you guys, The Girl Downstairs. It just wasn't my thing, so I felt bad scoring it. Okay, the next book I read this summer was called Maybe in Another Lifetime by Jenkins Reid. So she is like my favorite author. I say she's like my favorite author since COVID started. I've read a lot of her books, and on August 30th, I believe she has a new book coming out called, I don't want to butcher this, The Return of Carrie Soto, and I believe it's about a tennis player. Anyways, I want to read that. But we're talking about Maybe in Another Life. So Jenkins Reid, as I said, is one of my favorite authors. I think this is the third book of hers that I've read. This book goes back and forth between two choices that the main character could have made. In the end, I found myself rooting for the guy that I thought was best suited for the main character. This guy I just pictured to be cute, well-dressed, and kind. This is one of the books that you wish you wouldn't end, but you really want to get to the end to find out what happens. So I give this book a 10 out of 10. Yeah, you just need to read it. It was really, really good, and it's called Maybe in Another Lifetime. Oh, that brings me to like my 2 current books that I haven't journaled about yet. The next one was Lessons in Chemistry, and I can't remember the name of the author because I didn't bring the book with me, but I'll post it here or on this side, probably this side. Anyways, that book was so freaking good. I had it on my birthday wish list, and my daughter Taya bought it for me. I plowed through that book in like, I want to say maybe 3 or 4 days. I loved it. I couldn't put it down right from the beginning. The characters were really great. The storyline was amazing. It was so good. It was so sad at some points. I got pissed off at some points. I don't know. It was a really magical, good read, and I'm so glad I picked it up. I honestly thought that the cover, because it's like fluorescent pink, made it look like it might be kind of cheesy, but it wasn't. It might be my favorite book of the summer. It was so freaking good. So highly recommend, 10 out of 10. Next book I read was a book that Matt got me for my birthday, and I will post it here. I don't even remember the name of it, but I didn't like it. I really forced myself to... Oh, Nixon just chased something. I really just forced myself to read this book as quickly as I could because I wanted to get on to my next book. There were too many characters in this book. The background stories of each character were way too drawn out that I had a hard time remembering who was who and who did what and who was related to who and all that. So I just didn't like it. I guess maybe summer I feel like more of a light read so that I can concentrate on other things. I don't know. It was a 2 out of 10 in my books, and I will post it here so you can see who the author is. It might be something you like, but it was definitely not anything I enjoyed reading. The next book was Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. Matt, do you need to call next?
Okay. I see it.
You do? Okay. I borrowed this book from Tristan's girlfriend, Kyra, and I was hesitant to read it because I've read another Colleen Hoover book, and I forget what it was called. If I think of it, I'll post it here. Oh, it's gonna bother me now. Anyways, but this book that I was referring to that I didn't like, it was, had a lot of letters in it. Like, the character was writing letters, and I didn't care for it, and she kept like reading her letters, and I don't know, I just didn't love it. I liked the book, but it wasn't my favorite. This book, however, was so good. I read this one in like 3 days. I thought I'd be reading it all week up here, but no, I plowed through it way too fast. It was a really good storyline. It's about a woman that goes to jail while she's pregnant, and I don't want to really say too much more, but I'm sure it probably says a big chunk in the synopsis of what happens, but I don't want to ruin it for anybody, so I don't really know what to say, but I will say that the characters were good. Parts of it I questioned whether like morally it was like the right thing to do for 2 of the main characters, but beyond that, I thought it was really good, really well written, and I couldn't wait to see the end. And the letters that the author used in this book were used in the right context, that I actually enjoyed the letters and they made sense. So I'd give this book a 9 out of 10, and I would strongly recommend that you read this one too. So that's it for what I've read so far this summer. I might be forgetting 1 or 2 books that I may not have journaled about, but I think that's pretty much it. I will show you a couple of my favorite places to read, because everyone likes to curl up with a good book. I like to curl up with a good book and hot chocolate, or in the summer, a Kool-Aid jammer, and cookies, or some popcorn when I read. So follow along and I will show you where I like to read. So one of my favorite places to read in the summer is obviously our bowler. don't mind the mess. We've been in here for like a week and it's pretty grimy. But this spot right here, this spot is the best spot to read during the day. On a rainy day, I prefer to read outside if it's a nice day outside. But if it's a rainy day, that's the spot. I usually stock my books up here, but it's empty as you can see because I finished my last book for the summer. I'm gonna have to go buy a new one. But this is the spot. This is my favorite spot. You just wiggle your bum into the corner, open up the curtains, and you see this really nice view. You just snuggle in. Actually, I don't like the curtains here though. I do the curtains over there. And I just snuggle in and read. But I'm pretending to read because I've already finished this book. So this is another favorite place of mine to read. I have read many pages of many books sitting on my floaty in our river with Matt. He doesn't read much, but he's quiet while I read. Like, there couldn't possibly be a better view than here. And the sun and the fresh air is beautiful. This is definitely one of my favorite places to read. The hammock is another favorite spot of mine to read. And this hammock is just situated in like the best place ever. Ooh. Who's this cute guy with coffee?
Guppy.
And the view, really, come on. I don't know, maybe this is the best place to read. How bad is my hair? This is so greasy. I think
greasy.
I'm on day 3 without a shower right now, so, you know. Anyways. So yeah, this is just another spot I love to read. There's Nixon. Okay. Then this space right here is my ultimate in the house reading space. Sometimes I like the pillows, sometimes not. And today it's still summer, so I don't really need my, I don't really need the blanket. But this spot with the natural light behind me. Nixon's in here too. Anyways, before I gush on about how lovely my reading spot is here, I wanted to introduce you to one more book before we finish off where I like to read. It's called One True Loves by Jenkins Reid. I think she might be my favorite author, so maybe I'm biased, but this book was so good. How she described her high school love was like exactly how I feel about my husband. The book doesn't necessarily end the way that I thought it was going to, but there was so much to it, and I don't know, the characters are perfect. There's really 3 main characters in the book, which Taylor does such an excellent job of describing and like having their stories play out. And it's really interesting how the 3 main characters' lives are intertwined. I love the family dynamic. I love how the main character in the book allows herself to decide what's best for her and the life that she wants to have. And in that sense, the ending is perfect. But in other ways, I felt like, oh no, that's not what I was hoping for. But it was a really good read, and I don't want to spoil it, so I won't say any more. But I love Jenkins Reid, so yeah, I would definitely suggest this book. This one was definitely a 10 out of 10 for me. So now I'm going to show you one place that I actually don't like to read. So this is my quiet space in the house. This is my go-to spot to read, but I will show you the one place I do not I will show you the one place that I do not like to read. And you're probably going to be surprised. Okay, Nixon, should we show him? Where do I hate to read, Nichols? And you'll see my room's actually clean for once. This is where I hate to read. I hate reading in bed. Mainly because it makes me fall asleep. So I don't get many pages read, and I find that very irritating. So I generally don't read in bed. Some ways though, I wish that I did, because I scroll through TikTok when I'm in bed, which I don't think promotes healthy sleeping habits. But there you go. There you have it. All the places I love to read and the one place I really don't like to read. Maybe I need to clarify one thing before I shut the door on hating reading in bed. In the winter, I kind of don't mind reading in bed because I just don't want to get out of bed. But it's in the morning. At night, there's no reading in the bed. And I will add one more book to my summer reading list, because this will probably be the last book I spat on my lip. This will be the last book that I read for the summer. I borrowed it from my son's girlfriend, Kyra, Confess by Colleen Hoover. So I'm pumped on reading this one. My book collection has gotten quite small. I have nothing left to read, really. I have one book that Taya gave me called Mary Jane that I want to read in the fall. I don't know why. I just don't feel like reading it in the summer. So, yeah. So this is my last book until I find something else to read. Anyways, okay, that's enough of the I don't like reading in the bedroom so much. Thank you so much for watching another episode of Found But Still Lost. I hope my book review gave you some good ideas on what maybe you should be reading next. And I hope you enjoyed all the places that I like to read. Sometimes I even like reading in the car, but sometimes it makes me pukey, and I didn't include that. But yeah, you saw all the places I like to read. You saw the books I like to read. And I can't believe summer's coming to an end. So go get your summer reading on. Honestly, a lot of these books you could read any time of the year. I didn't feel like they were like specifically summer reads. So enjoy them into the fall and winter. And yeah, I love reading. So thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week with another episode of Found But Still Lost. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you.